Tourists are flocking to locations threatened by climate change. That only makes Christ of the Abyss, in the Florida Keys. Plopped in the Florida Reef is a 4,000-pound bronze Jesus named Christ of the Abyss. The statue is, like many of the products at this local photography shop, pictures of Christ of the Abyss look almost photoshopped, Jesus being circled by tropical fish, a sea turtle, and a shark. But lobster trap art owner Glenn Lottie says that when he moved to the Keys 27 years ago, the beauty was even more surreal. The water was clearer, there were more fish and even more coral. Home today, the Florida Keys rakes in much of it from those coming to see its national treasure. However, today, the net effect of human traffic and its hand in climate change have done possibly irreparable damage to the landmark. When confronted with the cloud of destruction that looms over the Keys hovers over many tourist destinations affected by climate change: the Great Barrier Reef, the Galapagos, Montana's National Glacier Park. And in recent years, Glacier National Park once contained 150 glaciers. Now there are 20 there, done in Churchill, Manitoba, a city that found that the increasing vulnerability of polar bears motivated a majority of visitors to travel there. 60% since its introduction, the phenomenon has been identified at other destinations in the Great Barrier. Whether or not these destinations are being marketed specifically as last chance destinations, their imminent disappearance is definitely part of their appeal. The irony is that this increase in greenhouse gases results in rising sea temperatures, which has alarming consequences in the Keys and elsewhere. On the Galapagos Islands, where visitors can get an up-close look at tropical penguins, sea lions, giant tortoises, and marine iguanas, the consequences of rising sea temperatures are predictable, because it's happened before. In warm today, over-tourism threatens these same species so much so that the area executive director of the Martha Honey says tourism is a double-edged sword, but if city governments can regulate the infrastructures that support tourism, they can give visitors a valuable, sustainable experience. This is the exact. Honey also says we can learn some lessons from Barcelona, which in the Florida Keys, rising water temperatures disrupt in a healthy system. Some initiatives have already started to rejuvenate the reefs. For example, reef wildlife in the Florida is in danger due to tourism. Along with the more constant stream of tourists, Hill says she and other locals have noticed more and more visitors taking advantage of the Keys resources during special events, such as this 2-day event. That's the kind of thing where we're already impacting it with our daily activities. Then we have people. Karen Haught, the sales and marketing director of, agrees that something has to be done, but she's not sure it's possible to limit tourism. We couldn't exist. Lottie of Lobster Trap Art says when the government first started implementing no-take zones and other sanctions, he didn't like it. I thought, well, although travelers might understand that a specific ecosystem is more endangered due to climate change, they still struggle to grasp the effect of their own choices. In the aforementioned 2010 study in Churchill, 88% of tourists said humans were contributing to climate change, but only 69% agreed that air travel plays a role in climate change. Even Lottie, who cares deeply about preserving the reef in his hometown, admits he is doing a lot of carbon footprinting himself. He flies often. John Fraser, founder of the nonprofit, which studies what motivates people to get involved in climate change resilience, says tourists' inability to reckon with their own contributions to climate change is partly due to confirmation bias. You believe you are a good person, so of course what you're doing isn't bad, and partly due to how we perceive activities that only take up a few days of our year. People tend to because travel is a treat, an indulgence detached from our everyday life, it's easy to dismiss its impact and tell yourself, this one trip isn't really going to make a difference. When your motivation. Want more stories from the goods by Vox?
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.